So thank you for coming to the Dashboard Dojo. My name is David Carnes. Today in the dojo, we have a very special guest for our Masters in the Dojo series. We have Steve Molis, otherwise known as Steve Mo, joining us. Welcome, Steve.
All right, so the margin of error for this session is plus or minus one master.
All right, so we've just got a few house cleaning things and we'll get right into the conversation with Steve. So if you've joined before, you know this story, but if it's your first time, I still like to share it. I spent 3 years in Japan and just loved visiting dojos in different parts of the country. Dojo is a word that means a place to learn the way. And I just thought that'd be kind of a cool way to focus on learning reports and dashboards. We're coming up on our 3rd anniversary. We have, I think, around 40 recordings now just on the Dashboard Dojo site. If you go to the recordings tab or you have the QR code here. Our last session was on setting up multi-currency. And what's interesting about that is there's really not that much to think about reporting wise, but there's a lot to think about setup wise for the Salesforce's multi-currency module. So we spent a bunch of time on that. Our agenda for today, we'll do a quick intro. We actually don't, I didn't update the agenda. We have no techniques or waza or shiai today. But we do have special guest Steve Mo. I'll talk about my book. I'll talk about the upcoming training class. And we have 2 dojo sessions scheduled for the fall in September after a summer break. Throughout the session today, you can use the chat function for Q&A. So really glad that you've joined us. And again, my name is David Carnes. I'm the founder and chairman of a company called OpFocus. Also really psyched to be the Boston admin group leader. So 18 years after I first went to a Boston admin group meeting, I am the Boston admin group leader, and we're having a great time. We've had some amazing guests come in to speak. I did just get a copy of my book. Actually, 2 boxes have now arrived of my book, which is really exciting. It took me 1.5 years to write this. Certainly being with the dojo being a great source of research for it. So I did include a QR code for the book there. We have Kyle Shagnon, who's the events manager at OpFocus. Thank you for hosting us again, Kyle.
Always a pleasure. Happy to have Steve here.
And once again, OpFocus is a consulting firm. We work with SaaS companies to scale go-to-market operations. Somehow client number 1 was right about now, 2006, and it was a relaunch of Salesforce at the time in 2006, and that was pretty cool because you really couldn't do a lot with the platform at the time. But all right, so we have a very special guest today who's been working on the platform. Steve, I believe you've been working on the platform now for 20 years. I think you had shared 2003.
Yeah. My Salesforce birthday is coming up, August of 2003.
That's amazing. So clearly you've been a long-time contributor to the community. You have your own golden hoodie jacket, which is really special there. In fact, is that you have 2 different ones now that you have?
I've got 2 different. Yeah, the green one on the left is the original one that Chris Duarte from Trailhead made for me when they were launching Trailhead back in Dreamforce 2014. She got the idea to do a game show during Dreamforce, live on stage, teams competing, Family Feud style, doing Trailhead modules. And she asked me if I would co-host, and little did I know that she made matching green sequin rainbow bedazzled jackets for the 2 of us. And when the week was over, she said, "You can keep it. I made it for you. It's got your name on it." So I kept it and started to wear it at like user group meetings and stuff like that. And the thing kind of took on a life of its own until at Dreamforce 2019. I wore it to a Salesforce after party where Macklemore performed, and Macklemore dragged me and this other person on stage to do a dance off. And it was the most epic beatdown of a white dude since Custer at Little Bighorn. But Macklemore said he wouldn't keep he wouldn't perform unless he got to wear the jacket. So I gave him the jacket.
They held the show hostage. That's great.
Yeah. So like, I just wanted to hide. I just wanted to like get off stage and run and hide. People stopped me and they said, like, no, he won't go on unless he gets to wear the jacket. So like, okay, but I got to get back. So I give him the jacket, and he wears it for like 3 songs, and like I get the jacket back, and I bump into Chris Duarte the next day, and I'm like, Chris, can I wash this thing? Because I've had it for like 5 years now. It's got my sweat on it, Macklemore sweat. She was like, no, if you send that to a dry cleaner, they'll just give you back a sack of rags and some sequins. That thing was only supposed to last like a week. But she was, Chris Duarte, if you know Chris, I mean, she's just amazing. She says, here's what I want you to do. It was the year that they were doing the whole idea exchange reimagined thing. She said, I want you to submit an idea for the dream coat, list all the shortcomings with the current dream coat, heavy, hot, no pockets, can't be washed, all that. And I, as the dream coat product manager, will respond. And if you get enough votes, I'll build you a new dream coat. And Chris, being Chris, he just did an amazing job. When the idea exchange team toured the country, going from user group to user group, dreaming event to dreaming event, crowdsourcing what the idea exchange was going to rebuild was going to be like, Chris tag teamed along with them and solicited advice from the user groups on what the new dream coat should look like. And then when they got to Boston, she had me go to a Boston user group meeting, and she had like prototypes and different colors, different materials, swatches of clothes. She had everybody in the group vote on them. And so that next Dreamforce, she unveiled the new dream coat. So
that's cool. So Steve, tell us about yourself. You list your company as a fixer or your job as fixer of shit.
So
tell us about yourself. What do you do for work, and what are some of your interests out of work?
So I'm a Salesforce admin developer I've been with the same company for going on 29 years now. It was August of 2003. I was working after bouncing around from department to department, client facing, internal facing. I was working as a Lotus Domino developer.
Amazing.
This is before Lotus, before Microsoft Outlook or Teams or any of that. Lotus Notes was our email system, and all of our internal systems were built on the Lotus Domino platform. And so was my getting my feet wet in development. And then one day in a team meeting, I mentioned to my boss that I had just wrapped up this project for HR, I think. And he was like, oh, great, you got some time on your plate. Sales is getting this thing called Salesforce. Going to be, few hours a week, password resets, nothing big. You can take it. And little did I know that was the day I hit the Salesforce lottery.
Awesome.
And it was like 25 users, all sales, less than 5% of the entire company was on it. It became 5 minutes a day, busy week, 5 hours a week of Salesforce. And then we just started adding more and more users, more and more departments. And I'd get asked to create a custom field and do that, change a page layout or build a report or a dashboard. And were dashboards even a thing in 2003?
I don't even go back that far. So
I don't even think dashboards were a thing. I think dashboards came out like after that. And yeah, one thing leads to another. I mean, along comes workflow, and I can automate a process without code. And it kind of just grew from there. I joked that I started with 25 users, and it was 25% of my time, and now I got 400 users, and it's 400% of my time.
We're very lucky. So you and I live less than 10 miles apart. We're lucky to be in this vibrant Boston community. Boston has had one of the oldest Salesforce communities. And at times, I think it's had one of the largest Salesforce communities in the world, just active with the user groups over time. How did you get involved with the community?
God, I don't know how I actually stumbled upon it. But it must have been like in the early days, like I remember like when we first got Salesforce, there was no Trailhead. There weren't the resources that we have available to us today. I mean, not to be all back in my day, I had to walk 5 miles through the snow, even during the summertime. But like I remember, like so one of the things as I was tasked with setting up this Salesforce thing, Salesforce had these weekly calls. It wasn't even Zoom, it was all audio, if I remember. And it'd be like Monday would be the marketing call, Tuesday would be this call, and Friday was the admin call. And you would just call into this conference call. There'd be a Salesforce moderator on it. And if you're an admin, you just asked a question and the person from Salesforce would try and help you out. But it kind of evolved, it kind of like organically grew into a roundtable, because usually it was the person from Salesforce doing all the answers. But every once in a while, they'd be like, that's a unique case. Anyone get any ideas on this? And you'd hear people like chime in like, oh, I ran into that on my org and this is how we handled it. And we did, and so it kind of evolved from there. And then at a Boston user group meeting, again, like Dave said, like Boston was the crown jewel in the Salesforce community. I mean, there would be like 2 or 3 big Salesforce Boston user group meetings a year, 1 or 2 big ones. And they were so big, they'd be at like a seaport hotel.
Yeah.
And
with like
Salesforce
400, 500 people.
And Salesforce, they were as big as they were bigger than some Dreaming events I've been to. Salesforce would fly in product managers to present at a Boston user group, like several of them. And that's how big they were. And I was at one of these Boston user group meetings, and this woman, Jen West, who I think still works for Salesforce, she was doing an admin roundtable, and she did the whole like meet and greet, say your name, where you work, and blah blah blah. And as soon as I said Steve Molis, I work at a company called Epsilon, she stopped. She goes, "Wait a minute, you're Boston Steve?" I was like, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, on the weekly call, you're Boston Steve." And I remember there was this other guy, Steve, and so we would differentiate which one of us was talking by Boston Steve, because apparently I got like an accent or something. And so she actually asked me, like, "Are you going to Dreamforce?" And I was like, I already asked my boss about getting the admin workshop and getting certified. And the price tag at the time was like $3,500 or something like that. It was like, pre-COVID, everything was in person at like a training center in Burlington, I think. 5-day workshop, intensive all day. And at the end on Friday, you got to take the cert exam, something like that. I was like, I don't think I can ask for the workshop in Dreamforce. And I'll never forget, I don't know if any of you guys know a woman named Becca Denti, or Christine Pector. Her name is Christine Reinhold. Right. The two of them were next to me, and I could feel them burning a hole in my neck with their eyes. And then Becca Dente looked at me. She goes, "If you are weighing the admin workshop or Dreamforce, and you don't pick Dreamforce, I'm going to strangle you." She was like, "You've been doing this for like 6 years. 80% of what you're going to learn at the admin workshop.
Yeah.
You'll learn all that and more at Dreamforce. And at Dreamforce, you get to take the admin cert exam for like $50, some nominal fee, something like that." She's like, if you don't go to Dreamforce, I'm going to kill you." And so Jen said, "Look, I'm doing the session, And if you're a panelist, your registration's covered. So all you got to pay is your shipping and handling. So that was my first Dreamforce, 09. And I've been to every in-person one ever since.
Oh, that's great. All right, so I've got a couple of rapid fire questions for you, and then
Sure.
we'll shift gears and have you present. Do you have a favorite reporting feature?
Feature. I love it's not so new now, but I love this. I don't know if I got a favorite, but I love the new formula editor. It's so much. I don't know if anybody remembers the old class. It's not, the classic formula editor. And if you're in like an opportunities with products report or something like that, you click and you go to build a summary formula or something like that. You click insert field, and it was just this. It's because you're talking about fields that are on the user object of the opportunity owner, the account, the opportunity product, the price book entry. You click that insert field thing, and the scroll would actually go up to the top of your screen and down to the bottom. And I swear to God, it would go through the top of your monitor and crash through the ceiling, and also bore a hole through the floor. And like some of those fields on those multiple objects, like they got same or similar names. You could be scrolling forever. Like it was just awful. Like, and now the ability to search and have context of like, okay, it's the account field that has this name versus the opportunity name that has field that has a similar or the same name. That was just a huge thing.
So they've got the color coding, the type ahead,
color coding, type
indenting,
ahead,
all
that stuff.
Yeah.
The functions that are available. It's just light years from where it used to be. Still got some quirks. I've been in discussion with the Salesforce report team about ways to make it better. Some of the more advanced functions like prev group val, prior val, and parent group val.
Yep.
The context is very important in them. And one thing that the old formula editor did have over the current one is that, and I brought this up at the True to the Core a couple of years ago, was that the old one did, for those functions, actually have this little widget that would pop up and actually show you the context. And context is essential when you're building a prev group val, prior parent group val function.
Yes.
If you don't have the context, it will break, because it's like, I'm sorry, but I can't do this math because you're not telling me where to go to get this numeric or currency value. So that was one thing it had that that's lacking. Another thing that I just love to this day is buckets. Buckets are just, you don't have to be an admin to use them. If you can run a report, you can create a report bucket and and group your data. I mean, I always tell this story in one of my other presentations about self-taught admin 2003. Well, made a lot of rookie mistakes. One of my rookie mistakes was, as we were going through that growth, and I went from 25 users to 50 to 75, 100, as we onboarded more and more departments and we acquired new companies through merger and acquisition, and we onboarded their sales teams, they'd come to me and be like, well, we don't really sell things that way. We've got our own stages, our own sales methodology. And stupid me was like, okay, what are your stages? Here's your I give them not just their own opportunity page layout, I gave them their own stages. And they couldn't come to an agreement on some common things. Like I'm not making this up. There's absolute gospel truth. They couldn't even agree on what to call a win. One team was totally fine with closed one, the default Salesforce stage. Nope, don't want closed one. We just want to call it a win. WIN. Okay, win it will be for you. And the other team still has closed one. Another team, they wanted to differentiate on closed loss, the reason for the loss, because sometimes we withdraw. I mean, sometimes it's not a good deal for you. And so you back away, and they wanted to indicate why it was lost. And rather than have a custom field for that lost reason, they wanted it in the stage. Fine. I gave it to them. Gave them this, I gave them that. Next thing you know, I got 35 opportunity stages, four flavors of win and like 9 flavors of loss.
Oh, that's
And
ridiculous.
that's fine for them because they're running a report, they're looking at their sales pipeline. They only see their stages. But then one day my CFO comes to me and he wants to look at the entire pipeline. And he's got to look at this train wreck of 35 stages. And I have a saying, if you build a report or a dashboard and the person looking at that report or dashboard has to pull out a piece of paper and a pencil or a calculator and add up all the wins or all the losses just to figure out what that report is telling them, you built a shitty report. And I didn't want to be known as the builder of shitty reports. And so luckily, things like buckets allow you to clean up that mess and be like, okay, this is a win, this is a win, this is a win, this is a win, bucket it in my win bucket. This is a loss, this is a loss, this is a loss, this is a loss. Everything else goes into open. And now your CFO sees a nice clean report with this is how much we won, this is how much we lost, this is how much is still open without code or anything like that. And it's something also that any user can do too, that can run the report. So buckets are still one of those, just like simple, but I use them to this day. They're just great. They're just a nice little thing, like that low hanging fruit.
So why don't we shift gears, Steve? I know the group is interested in hearing what you're thinking about, what you'd like to present. I know you prepared some slides to talk through. We probably have 25 or so minutes that we could dedicate to that. As you get set up, I do want to share a comment. Mitch, who's on today's Dōjō, shared that when he interviewed for a job, he was asked, "Do you know who Steve Moe is?" And that was part of this. So I thought you'd get a kick out of that. So if you want to share a screen, you can go right ahead.
Sure. I have to add that to my bio. I've been the question on a job interview. Okay, so can everybody see? Hold on.
Not yet.
Helps if I click the share button. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
All right. We're already off to a good start. I did a presentation at Virtual Dream, and in the early days of COVID, and I was like halfway through my presentation when somebody in the chat mentioned that they were still looking at slide 1. So, sorry, I got 3 monitors. So as Dave mentioned, I'm a Salesforce MVP. Finally got my Trailhead Ranger badge in 2019. I'm a community college dropout. I went to Bunker Hill Community College in Charlestown and flunked out after 1 semester with a 0.67 GPA. Been an admin since 2003, and I'm a Salesforce world record holder. I hold the world's record for the most time anyone has dropped an F-bomb while presenting at Dreamforce. The previous record was 0, held by everybody else. So Salesforce told me I need my own safe harbor slide. And I want to just share some formulas that I use in my own org or have built to answer questions in the answers community. And I want to share one formula. This is the most complicated formula I've ever written. Somebody needed to calculate in a report the percentage of revenue that was lapsed or remaining in the current month. And next to it is, that's an actual thing. That's a Victorinox Swiss Champ VATX pocket knife, which weighs almost 1 pound and costs about $500. And the formulas I'm going to show you are nothing like that. They're like this. This is my favorite pocket knife. It opens bottles of beer and bottles of wine, and I use it every day. So I'm going to show you how to create a really simple formula that will make your report and dashboard filters dynamic. A simple little formula I built to return the ultimate parent account in a multi-level account hierarchy for really nice, clean summary reports. And if we have time at the end, I'll share with you what I consider to be the greatest formula ever written. So a lot of what I'm going to show you are formula fields that are, created on the object themselves. One nice feature of that as a Salesforce admin is that when you create a formula field on the object, the field is now automatically available in nearly every single standard report type of that object, and also any existing report that you or your users have already built for that object, so that formula field is right there in the field list. But you don't have to rebuild it. I mean, I love report summary formulas, love row level formulas. A lot of these would work in a row level formula, but the problem with them is, I mean, I love them. I'm not hating on them, but the problem is they're not portable from report to report to report. You create a really cool report summary formula, you got another report that's laid out different filter criteria. Well, you got to rebuild that report level formula in the second report. You can't just drag and drop it or plug and play it. That's one of the things I like about formula fields. But some of these are convertible to a row level formula if need be, if you're not an admin, don't have customized application permission. So with that being said, word of advice, this is the formula field editor, and trust me, these buttons will not hurt you. They're there to help. I want to call out a couple of them. This is true of a formula field or a row level formula. When you're building a formula, you need to use what's called the API field name. And that's not necessarily going to be the same thing you see when you're looking at a record. A perfect example of that is opportunity stage. The API field name is not stage. It's not opportunity stage. The API field name is stage name with a capital S, a capital N, and no blank space in between. And that's what you need when you're building a formula. So it doesn't matter. Formula field, validation rule, flow builder, report formula, report summary formula, report row level formula. You got to use the API field name. And the other thing about the insert button is, if you got to do a cross object formula, it builds in all those relationships for you. Little quirk about a cross object formula. When you're looking at a custom field, it will say underscore lowercase c at the end. But when you're traversing a lookup field and going into that other object, you actually have to use double underscore lowercase r, because it's a reference field. The insert field button will do that for you automatically. When you're building a cross object formula and you go step through that lookup field into the other object, formula editor automatically gives you the API cross reference. It does it for you automatically. I've written thousands of formulas. You know how many I've written by hand? 0. At least ones that have worked. I use the insert field button all the time. Another one, David and I were just talking about this before, the insert function button. I've written thousands of formulas. I don't know the syntax of every function off the top of my head. This will give you a little synopsis of what that function does. And there's a link to the online help that will bring you to the complete list of all the functions. You can scroll through it and find that function. And for most of them, they've got a full write-up, all the ins and outs, even examples. Like Dave was saying when we were having that talk, they've actually got an example of what a nested if is. Like right there in the help, how to construct that function. Great information right there. And it doesn't pull you away from the formula you're in the middle of writing. It opens it in another tab or another window, so you can keep working on your formula. But okay, this is what I got to do. This is how I construct this. This is how I use this. Or oh crap, I can't actually use this function in the type of formula I'm doing. So I got to step back and take another approach. All that information right there, like clicks away in the formula editor. So want to show you a couple, and like I said, some of these came from the questions that were posted in the Answers community. And the first one actually came from a question that was posted by Kelly Knudsen back in 2013. And the cool thing is, This formula is still in use today. I still get questions about this. So she had a unique case. Her company, their sales were very transactional. I mean, like just from day to day, they were creating, closing, opening opportunities and stuff like that. So she was trying to run a report that would compare what her sales were for the current, up to the current day of the month, and the previous month, the month before that, the month before that, the month before that, side by side. But the thing is, she wanted it to be dynamic. The next day when she ran that same report, she didn't want to have to adjust the filter criteria and say, you know, close date, you know, less than or equal to June 28th, May 28th, April 28th, March 28th, February, January, and then the next day, add like one more day every time she runs a report. She wanted to just be able to like run this report any day and have it give her the results she wanted dynamically. So the solution I came up with, I used a function called day, a function called today, and a less than or equal mathematical operator. Now, if you've never used the today function, all it does is return the current date value. If you created a formula date field and you put today, left paren, right paren in that formula and hit save, and you look at that field on a record or in a report, you're going to see today's date. Tomorrow, you look at that same record, that same report, you're going to see tomorrow's date. The day after that, you're going to see the day after you, until the end of time, that formula is going to return whatever the current day's value is. The day function evaluates a date field or a date value and returns the day component. Doesn't care about the month, doesn't care about the year. If the opportunity close date is December 25th, 2019, and you wrap a day function around close date, it's going to give you back the number 25. Doesn't care that it's December, doesn't care that it's 2019. You can, like I said, it will evaluate a date field or a date value. Today is a date value. If you wrap the day function around the today function, it's going to give you the number 28. Doesn't care that it's June, doesn't care that it's 2023, 2024, 1999. It's going to give you the number 28. So here's the formula I built. On the opportunity object, I created a formula field. I selected checkbox as my formula result. And here's my formula. Day close date is less than or equal to day today. Day today is going to give me the number 28. If the opportunity close date is April 15th, 2023, that formula is going to give me a checked checkbox. If the opportunity close date was March 31st, 2023, it's going to give me a false checkbox. Even though March is before June, March 31st is greater than the number 28. So like I said before, the cool thing is the second I hit save on my formula field, this field is now available in every standard report type that supports that object, including any existing reports that I've built. So I can take my favorite report that I've already built, edit it, and there's my month to date checkbox field right there for the picking. I just grab it, add it to my report, filter criteria, month to date, that's what I call my checkbox, equals true. And if I run this report on the 10th day of the month, I can see side by side, month by month, what my numbers were. And the cool thing is, and the next day on the 11th, 12th, 13th, every time I run this report, it's going to add one more day of the month. Until the end of the month, it's going to reset back to day 1, day 2, day 3. You never have to touch this report again. The formula checkbox field is doing all the work for you. You never have to change the filter criteria. You don't have to change anything. And the cool thing is, I built this for Kelly. That's what she wanted to do. But I played around with it. I mean, I built it in my dev org. And I was playing around with it one day. And the cool thing is, instead of using it as a report filter, you can use it as a report grouping. And now you can see what your revenue was for up to this day of the month and what to expect for the remainder of the month. You can see how much money came in after today's date, month by month, year by year. So you can say like, okay, even though the numbers are down up to this point in the month, it's actually not because things are bad. Our customers' behavior is changing. They're actually making their purchases later in the month. That's it. Don't lay everybody off, but we might want to change our staffing so that when this end of month crush comes, we're ready for it. Again, same checkbox I built for Kelly, but I'm just applying it differently. Again, simple formula checkbox, doing some basic math. Before we go on to the next one, anybody have any questions about it? Or I mean, we can save questions to the end too.
Mitch just chimed in saying that they are a huge fan of it.
Oh, thanks. So funny, so like Kelly, again, like her company was very transactional, like the numbers could fluctuate on a daily basis. My company, things move much more slowly. Our deals are bigger, take weeks, months to cultivate. So I got asked to build a report showing our year-to-date sales. And so knowing what I learned building Kelly's formula, I decided to take the same approach because I had the same problem. You could build that report by assembling your filter criteria, but the problem is every time you run the report, it's going to be a day later, a week later, a month later, 2 months later. You got to go in and you got to edit each of your report filters every time they run the report. And let's face it, they're not going to do it. They're going to be coming to you asking you to do it. And I got better things to do in my time than update report filter criteria for a bunch of users. So the solution I came up with was to create a formula that evaluates the opportunity close date and compares it to the current day of the year and return a true or false checkbox. Now, when I built this is how you would do it. You had to do the math and subtract January 1st of the year the opportunity closed from the close date. And you had to subtract January 1st of the current year from today's date and basically do the same math. What day of the year the opportunity closed, but you don't have to do that anymore because a little going away present that a guy named Steve Tam gave to us Salesforce admins before he left was a new function called Day of the Year.
Woohoo.
And Day of the Year basically does what day does, but it does it for the entire year. If an opportunity had a close date of January 1st, 2024, and you wrap Day of the Year around the close date, it's going to give you the number 1. If an opportunity has a close date of December 31st, 2020 is a leap year, it automatically gives you the number 366 because December 31st of 2020 was the 366th day of 2020. For 2021, 2022, 2023, it's going to give you 365. It does all that for you. So I basically took the same formula I built for Kelly, but using day of year wrapped around today, it's going to give me the number 179. Tomorrow, it's going to give me the number 181. The next day, it's going to give me the number, 180. The next day, it's going to give me 181. All the way out to December 31st of 2023, not a leap year, it's going to give me the number 365. So here's my formula. Day of year close date is less than or equal to day of year today. If the opportunity close date was January 15th, 2023, the day of the year, January 15th, is, surprise, the 15th day of the year. Day of year today is going to give me the number 179. If the opportunity close date is November 30th, 2019, it doesn't care that it's 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023. November 30th is day 334. So it's going to return a false or unchecked checkbox. So just like for Kelly, second I hit save, there's my new field there for the picking, available to use as a report filter. So now I don't have to, my users don't have to edit the edit the report filter criteria. They don't have to ask me to edit the report filter criteria. I run this report on April 15th. I can see this year, last year, the year before that, side by side, what my revenue was as of this day of the year. And it's just a simple formula checkbox that's doing some basic math. The next one I want to show you is one of my personal favorites because you know, I use it in my own org, and it you know, like we talked about some of my favorite features, bucketing and stuff like that. And if you've ever been in an org that has an account hierarchy, so you got like the account, the parent account, maybe that parent account is actually a subsidiary of like a global corporation or something like that, or maybe you're in the nonprofit sector and so it's chapter based. You got your state level organizations, your regional organizations, things like that. You got these multi-level account hierarchies. But then you try to build an opportunity pipeline report or something like that, and you use parent account as a grouping. So Octan is the parent of Lego and United Oil and Gas. United Oil and Gas is the parent of its three subsidiaries, United Oil and Gas, Singapore, UK, and Singapore. And then you've got these standalone companies like Three Stooges, Initech, Midstate Office Supply, and Wernham Hogg. And like I said before, if the person who's looking at this report has to pull out a calculator and add all that up, you built a shitty report. So maybe you try to make it easier for them. And so you add a chart grouped by the parent account name. Great, as long as that calculator they got has a yellow, green, orange, and red button on it to add up all of this mess. So how am I going to solve this? Because I don't know what level of the account hierarchy the account is in. They could be the parent, they could be the subsidiary, they could be the grandchild, they could be the great-great-grandparent. I mean, I did some research and I found that in my org, we had some account hierarchies that were 4 levels deep. So how do I figure out what the top parent, what the top account in that entire hierarchy is? Because I don't know what every single account, what level every single account is. You know, I've got 18,000 accounts in my Salesforce org. Some of those accounts are numbered 1 in the hierarchy, 2, 3, 4. Sometimes there's no hierarchy. And so I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to solve this. And I got to give a little shout out to a guy named Deepak Anand, who, in my opinion, is the greatest contributor in the Salesforce community of all time. His stuff, it's not just the solutions he would come up with. It was that, like, when he would post a solution, he would just post this well thought out explanation of the approach that he took, how his formula worked, what his formula was doing, in a way that even I could understand it. And he posted this solution one time, and his solution hinged on a function called blank value. Now, blank value is one of the original functions. It's been around for as long as I can remember. And I can remember when I would build a formula, I would scroll past it, and I would always stop sometimes and look at it. I could never figure out how I could use this thing or what it actually did. But one day in one of Deepak's solutions, he explained how he was using the blank value function. And in his explanation, the light finally came on, and I knew how I could use this. And so here's what I did. I created a custom formula field on the account object. I selected text as my result type. And then I clicked that insert field button. And I clicked on the account object. and I scrolled until I found the parent account lookup field. Now you see, you'll notice that the parent account lookup field has a greater than sign or a caret next to it. That means it's a lookup. And in the formula editor, you can click on that and step through the lookup field into the parent account record and look at all the fields on that. And so I stepped through the parent account field and I scrolled through that list. And then I found the parent account field on the parent account. And I kept on scrolling and clicking and scrolling and clicking. Now, like I said, I did some homework and I found that my account, my org, my ultimate account hierarchy, my highest one was 4 levels deep. So I wanted to build myself a little buffer and I went up 6 levels. But here's the thing. This field is going to be on every single account record. Not every account has a 4-level hierarchy, a 5-level hierarchy, a 6-level hierarchy. Some of them don't even have any hierarchy. Some of them, it's just a flat account. Some of them, that record is the ultimate parent account. But use it. So what blank value does, I'll try to do Deepak justice. What blank value does is you point it at a field. And if that field is blank, it allows you to provide a substitute for what to do if it is blank, what else to use. You can either put in another field name or you can put in a hard-coded value. So what I did is I wrapped a blank value function around my parent name. If the parent does have a name, then it's going to give me the account name. But if it's blank, then I provide a substitute. And my substitute is the parent account name. But that might be blank. So I provide a substitute, the parent account name. But that might be blank. So I provide another substitute. This is, we talked about, Dave mentioned a nested if. This is nothing more than a nested blank value function. I'm just saying go up 6 levels, give me the account name. But if that's blank, go up 5 levels, give me the account name. But if that's blank, go up 4 levels, give me the account name. But if that's blank, go up 3 levels, give me the account name. But if that's blank, go up 2 levels, give me the account name. But if that's blank, go up 1 level, give me the account name. But if you've gone up 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 levels, and all of them are blank, then that can only mean one thing. You are on the top account in the hierarchy, or there is no hierarchy at all. In which case, if all of those things are blank, simply give me back the name of the account record that I'm sitting on right now. And I close them all out with a bunch of right parens because this is a nested blank value function. This is the exact same report that we started with, but I edit it. And there is my ultimate parent account name field there for the picking. And I grab it and I drag that up and I use that as my report summary grouping. And now without a piece of paper and a pencil or a calculator, this Bunker Hill Community College dropout can see that the Octane Corporation and all of its subsidiaries has $6.9 million in the pipeline.
That is awesome. Yeah.
There's the
sorry.
Octane revenue in a nice, neat report chart that anyone can look at. And those standalone companies, Three Stooges, Initech, Midstate Office Supply, they're not out on the island of misfit toys. They're also in a nice, clean report chart. Simple formula text field, and I could not have got there without Deepak Anand's help. I mean, he hasn't been as active as he was before, but I don't care. I mean, he's Tom Brady. I mean, if he hangs him up, he's 10 years from now, he's still going to be the GOAT. 20 years from now, he's still going to be the GOAT.
That's awesome.
I mean, just a master class in problem solving.
So we've got a couple of questions. So Pablo made a comment. So you keep stepping down using the blank value until you find a match. And I think you confirm that.
Yeah.
Mitch asked the question, is there a way to see how many levels of hierarchy your org has easily?
I believe I posted this, and I think I did one where it would work. So I did one where instead of returning the name of the account, I returned the number of the level that that account was in the hierarchy. So in theory,
if you jump back to that,
yeah,
the slide that has it, we could just replace the account name with a number, probably.
So basically, where at the very last one where it says name alone, that would be 1. The one above it would be 2. The one above that would be 3. So working from the bottom up, you'd return 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then when you run your report, you could see like the highest number is going to be your maximum maximum level. So that would, I mean, if you wanted to see like, okay, what is the highest, what, you know, it could be a good exercise. Now, one caveat to this, there is a limit. I don't know if it's documented anywhere, but there is a limit to the number of blank. It's not a limitation on the number of blank values. It's the number of cross-object relationships that you can traverse. You can't just do parent, 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 parent. You can't just open up a 20 nested blank value and go all the way out. I think it's 11 or 10. There might be another factor in there. The nice thing is that you can't build the formula. It won't let you save it and then you get this bad result or a train wreck or any of that. In the formula editor, when you hit the limit, you'll get a red error message, and it will say explicitly, you've exceeded the number of relationships that you can traverse. You're at the max, so you gotta knock it back 1. But I mean, like I said, like I got 18,000 accounts, and our highest was 4, and I built this out. So I built this out to 6, so they could have some wiggle room. But you could do that. So every place where it says name in light blue, the very bottom one, you'd put the number 1, the number, then the one above that, number 2, 3, 4, 5, and you know, instead of you might need to change this from a nested blank value. Now that I think of it, you might need to change this from a nested blank value into what Dave referred to earlier, a nested if, and do something like,
because it's replacing the name when it doesn't find the
yeah,
name.
so you'd have to do something, but it's totally doable. It is doable, because after I posted this as a tip in the Trailblaze community, people have come back with like, could I make it a hyperlink? Could I make it this? Could I make it that? Could I make it the other thing? In that thread, I'll try and find it. I think I have it bookmarked. I'll drop it into the chat if I can find it. In that thread, I think have my account tier number formula posted. I'd have to dust it off. If we have time, maybe I'll spin up my debug. I think I might have it in there.
So we just have a few minutes left, Steve. If you could give us the Cliff Notes version of the Power of One, which I know you're very capable of doing.
Okay.
It'd be amazing.
Yeah. So, okay. So without further ado, what I consider to be the greatest formula ever written, and I can't take credit. A lot of people attribute this to me, but I learned it from Tom Tobin, who worked for Salesforce. He was one of the analytic product managers at a hands-on workshop that he was doing at my first Dreamforce 01. So, greatest formula ever written. It's a formula field you create it on the object. This is the first custom field that I add to any object I create. I have it on everything. I'm not lying. The user object, account, opportunity, contact, lead, opportunity, product, opportunity, price book entry, product, every single object in my org, activity, I have this field on. Formula field, word of advice, don't name it the Power of One. I see people, they'll email me, hey, I did this awesome Power of One thing, but I can't make heads or tails of this report. Then I ask for a screenshot of the report, and they've named all of them Power of One. It's like, no, don't be George Foreman. Don't name all your kids George. You can name it whatever you want. I happen to name mine after the object I'm creating it on, because that is the thing you're going to be counting with it. So you select number as the result type. Another little tidbit, use 0 decimals. I see some people, they I think it defaults to 2 and they use 2. You don't need decimals. It's a 1. Here's the formula. That's it. It's a number one. So a lot of people, they do this and they're like, okay, great. So I create this power one field on the opportunity. Now I look at an opportunity record and I got a one staring back at me. What's so great about that? Here's what's so great. This is a plain vanilla standard Salesforce opportunity with products report. And using the standard record count, I can see that there's 1,251 records in this report. But 1,251 of what? Opportunity owners? Well, I flunked out of Bunker Hill, but even I can count to 6. But accounts, opportunities, opportunity products, your guess is as good as mine. The only way to know for sure is to take the phone off the hook, cancel all your meetings for the rest of the day, click show details, provided you're under 2,000 rows, and count them one by one. This is the same report after I've created my Power One field on the user, account, opportunity, opportunity product objects. There's my account Power One field. I grab it, select summarize sum. Then I do that for my user, opportunity, opportunity product. This is the same exact report we started with, but using the Power One, I can confirm that yes, even though I flunked out of Bunker Hill, I can count to 6. There are 6 users who own an opportunity in this report. There are 41 accounts that have an opportunity. There are 1,067 opportunities. And there are 315 opportunity products. And I did it all using that little one on each of those objects. So that's the Power One in a nutshell. That might be a new world's record for the quickest Power One Prezi.
That is so awesome, Steve. You've inspired us all. Really, really great.
Thanks. And like I said, it's not that 84 blade Swiss Army knife. I mean, who's going to lug around a 1 pound, $500 Swiss Army knife when 99 times out of 100 you need a bottle opener and a blade? That's what I want to share with you is these formulas. Like, one's returning a number one. One is returning the value in the account name field. It's just looking 6, 5, 4, 3, 2 levels up and giving you what's in that name. The other ones are comparing 2 numbers to each other and giving you a check for an unchecked checkbox. That's it. I'm not doing rocket science. I'm not reinventing the wheel or cracking an atom. But these formulas, I use them every day in my org. I use them to solve a problem 10 years ago, and it's still in use today. So that's, I can go into overtime if anybody wants to, ask any questions or anything like that.
We do have a minute for questions. I do have, I just thought to share, we're going to take a break for the summer with the Dōjō, and hopefully everybody has an amazing summer. And we'll look to see you September 6th. We have the senior product manager who owns the activity object in Salesforce, Vanessa. She lives here in the Boston area. She's joining us. She also is the product manager for Einstein Activity Capture, which has some brand new reporting features that are available in beta right now. They're coming out GA later this year.
Cool.
So we have a whole bunch of thank yous and wishes for enjoying the summer. Any last questions for Steve? Steve, this has been amazing. We thank you so much for your time. You're always welcome back. Actually, there was one question. The day of the year function for, so Chris asked the question, can the day of the year function be used with fiscal year? And I wonder if we have to do it custom for an offset.
You would need to do some kind of an offset. So you could, depending on how complex your fiscal year, actually, I don't know about that. Yeah, in theory, you could use a formula to calculate, basically append or adjust your fiscal year start date to, basically converting that into January 1st, and then it would give you that. It's doable. It's a math problem. At the end of the day, it's a math problem, and they're solvable. But you would need to do an adjustment because my understanding is that it's looking explicitly at January 1st and doing the calculation based on that. So you'd have you'd have to do a formula field or a formula that recalibrates, but it's doable. And it's no different than like created date and last modified date are stored in GMT UTC. And sometimes people are doing like how many hours has it been since case created date or something like that. And you've got, that's stored in GMT or UTC, but you're in East Coast time or Central time or Pacific time. So you got to do this adjustment. You do like, if you're, East Coast, you got to do -4 hours. The way you do that is minus, and then in parentheses, you just do 4 divided by 24. That's going to give you like whatever 4 hours is, like point something, something, something days. You're subtracting that many days from the created date, which is stored in UTC. You're essentially doing the same thing. You're basically adjusting your financial year start date from the calendar start date.
Yeah.
Doable.
So Steve, this has been amazing. I feel like we all owe you a beer. There was a great question in chat.
At Dreamforce.
There was a great question about how many beers you think you might be owed.
Well, if you ever look at my answers on the Answers community, I do throw some Easter eggs on there. Like sometimes somebody's got a report, if somebody's got like a especially tricky report question or something like that. Instead of the opportunity dollar amount, so on my opportunity in my dev org that I build all these formulas and reports in, I have a custom field called how many beers is Steve owed, and I'll actually like, here's the formula, and like just to see if they're paying attention. You'll say like, how percentage of deals won per quarter, but instead of dollar amount, we'll say like, how many beers you owe me, just to see if anybody's looking.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you so much. And thank you to Kyle. Thank you, everyone who's joined us today. We'll look forward to seeing you back in September in the Dashboard Dojo. Until then, have a great summer. Take care. Thanks again.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Steve.